Okay. Now you heard the voice recording in progress, so we are on, and I'm going to share the presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please, you can text it in the chat. At the end, I can open the chat and read your questions. Otherwise, in any case, at the end, I'm going to open the questions and answers, so you may also say your questions vocally, okay? Even if I believe, considering the number, it will be a bit difficult operation, but why not? We can try. So let's start. As always, for you who were the first time, you know that at the beginning we are going to talk about HRD, and we are going to talk about what HRD is providing to all our clients in the world. So remember, of course, HRD is very famous for the certification and for education. HRD was born in the 1973, so HRD is having exactly my same age. And we also are very strong when we talk about equipment, because we can provide, also, of course, we sell also the equipment, not only the simple microscopes and the lamps, even more. Just a matter for you to contact our administration in Antwerp, and we will have more information. In terms of certification and education, remember, despite the fact that HRD is very famous in the world for the diamond certification and the education about the diamond, now HRD is also in the color stones business. So what does it mean? It means that we can provide also certification for colored gemstones. And of course, we teach also the identification process for the colored gemstones. Not only the identification process, also the grading process for the colored gemstones. One more specification, and then we change the slide. When we talk about the certification for the colored gemstones, please remember, from the moment, and only for the moment, we are providing only certification for mounted colored gemstones. Okay. Okay, let's enter in our seminar, and I want to take back also some points I already told you. Before talking about certification, I mentioned, and education mainly, I mentioned the identification process and the grading process. I want also to take back these two concepts because to me they are very, 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 very important. We decided to give this title to our seminar, I mean the growing luxury segment. Why? Because in this moment we are experiencing a good, let's say, a good positive moment for the colored gemstones. So what are, at the end, the forces driving in somehow the market for the colored gemstones? In this page, we can see, at least we may say, the most important in this moment. So first of all, the historical significance, because colored gemstones are coming from really from the past, from the ancient time. We may say also that we have we are experiencing an increasing demand for luxury jewelry with colored gemstones, and not only with diamonds. And we are also assisting, this is something we cannot change, to a digital transformation, and the digital transformation is involving also the market for gemstones. Of course, we cannot keep aside also the concept of sustainability, and let me say also the concept of traceability in terms of luxury items and so on, in terms of gemstones. It's coming back. Let me use this expression. It's coming back also the interest in gemstone as investment, but with very strict specification. We will see this kind of specifications. One more point, because it's somehow related to the increasing demand, is what we may call the consumer preferences towards personalized luxury products. What does it mean? We will go through it, of course, also later, but let me anticipate something. It means that the colored gemstones can give to the final consumers different directions to express the personality of the final consumer. Why? What is the secret? Why I may say that? Because the secret is the color. Okay. Okay. Let's start with the historical significance. Here, I want to point out a psychological fact, let's say that. Of course, when we talk about colored gemstones, as we said also before, the historical significance is in the fact that the first, really the first material the humankind used on the body or as a symbol was a colored, what we today we call a colored gemstones. Uh, a bone, a pearl, a shell. Okay. But I want also to, as I was saying before, I want also to spot out a very particular point. Among all the species we have among the colored gemstones, every time we have a red variety, the red variety is taking the highest value. Sorry, let me do also one more small introduction. When I say value, I'm not talking about the price, okay? I'm talking about the impact the gemstone, in this case the red variety, can have on the personality of the individual. So just let's do an example. If I enter in the species of corundum, the red variety, the famous and beautiful, I would say, ruby, is taking the highest value. And of course, in this case, also the highest price. Okay. If I enter, I don't know, in the species of beryl, the species of beryl is the one having the emerald as a variety. Okay. We have also a red variety inside the beryl. And the red variety inside the beryl is taking the highest value. Again, don't think the value is the price, huh? Please. Okay. Unfortunately, the red variety of the species of beryl is very, very rare. So it's very difficult to find in our stores, jewelry stores. Let's go to the increasing demand. So we can also open this topic. Yes, there is. I know. Our planet, let's take it in this way. Our planet is having a very bad period. Many situations are, let's say, creating very bad, again, very bad situations in the market, in different markets, in different segments. It's not only in the luxury segment and not only in the jewelry industry. But despite that, we may say that there is an increasing demand. I don't like to talk about numbers. I don't like to talk about the CAGR for, I don't know, 2020, 2030, I don't know, from now to when, because numbers are always changing, to be honest. But what is very important to me is the trend. And the trend is a positive trend. And just for you to understand better, when we talk about simply gemstones, we are talking about this color you can see here. So we are talking about this part of the chart we may see, this small part. And this small part is getting bigger going ahead in time. Hopefully, it's a forecast, of course. So hopefully it's getting bigger going ahead in time. Luxury industry is having different kind of products. So our main focus is the jewelry items. And inside talking about jewelry industry, of course, our main focus are the gemstones. We have to always to mention probably the three most important marketplace for colored gemstones. Why they are the most important? Not only for the volume of the items sold, but also for the kind of trend or fashion trends this marketplace can develop. So, for example, United States, it's always the most important one in terms of volume, okay, because it's the largest market for colored gemstones. When we go to Far East, we may mention China, and of course, mentioning China, we have to mention also Hong Kong. Because probably Hong Kong is the biggest hub for all the colored gemstones in the world. And then let's also mention Europe. Why Europe? Because Europe was and is and will remain the key market for the heritage luxury brands. Absolutely. Okay. just to mention probably two of among the most important, Bulgari and Cartier, for example. Okay, and Bulgari and Cartier are extremely open to use colored gemstones. Also, what is affecting the increasing demand for colored gemstones is also somehow the chance the colored gemstones are giving to the designer to develop new design, new trend. Also in the fashion, if we look for a moment in a different industry, no? If you look at the fashion, also if for the fashion there is the color of the year, the hue of the year. And the hue of the year in the fashion becomes every time a trend also in the luxury industry when we talk about jewelry items and colored gemstones. I have a question. No? So I'm going to ask to myself a question. Maybe I'm going to anticipate your question. Why we not include diamond in this? Of course, we can include also diamond when we say these things. Why? Because also all diamonds are coming with fancy colors. So we may have red, green, pink, blue diamonds, etc. But of course, they are not so easy to access like the colored gemstones. And when we talk about the new design and trends, we have to involve the new generation, the famous Generation Z or even Alpha, etc., because they are looking for, sometimes I like to say, futuristic designs, okay? And the colored gemstones are perfectly matching this kind of requirement or needs. Let's use the expression needs when we talk about the new generation, okay? I anticipate a bit this image. For who was with me the last time, it's exactly the same picture. And I like it, I really like it, because it's giving us the feeling of the new generation, okay? They perceive, I don't know now if among you there is someone belonging to the so-called Generation Z or Alpha. Not me, for sure, eh? But let's say these young generations are really looking for something to use, something that can be used to underline, to really spot out their own personality. And now, in this moment, we have a really different kind of mood, especially coming from what we may call, or what in Europe is strictly called the famous Green Deal, okay? So there is a way to match this kind of topics. Yes, there is. What is this kind of way to match all these topics? It's exactly the design and the color. And again, at this point, we have again to mention that the color gemstones are really meeting that for the color they have. And when we say color gemstones, we don't have to think only at ruby, emerald, and sapphire, the famous big three. Not only them. We have to think that we have a lot of many different species and so on, many different varieties. And the majority of them are very easy to access. When I say that, now I'm talking about price. Okay. What the new generations are really looking every single time, what they need, or what, let's say, the marketplace needs to meet on the same ground, let's say that the new generations. It's exactly the digital transformation. What do we mean when we say digital transformation? Let's do an example very easy. I hope not valid for the older generation like mine. The new generations are always with some devices in their own hands, okay? A phone or whatever it is, okay? So it means that if we want to communicate with them, we must pass through that devices. So we must pass through the digital, whatever it is, whatever it is, we may call it digital platform. And we are registering exactly, especially in 2025, but it's coming also from the past, from 22, 23, 24, and now it's really obvious, an increment in the online sales. especially for colored gemstones. Why? Again, let's ask us why. Because now we can call back what we said before in terms of price. Not all the colored gemstones are so expensive, crazy expensive. The majority are not expensive at all. So it's easy to upload them in a platform and sell them through a digital platform. Worldwide, we have a statistic. The barrier for an online purchase is 7,000 USD. So it's very easy if we sell jewelry items with colored gemstones, again, if we don't use ruby, emerald, and sapphire, to stay below this worldwide barrier. When I say worldwide barrier, 7,000 USD, it means that a final consumer start having problems, let's say some difficulties, to buy an item if the item is costing more than 7,000 USD. Again, let's keep in our mind the new generations, but to this time I believe we can also involve the old generations, let's say that. It's now extremely important to talk about ethical and sustainable sources for the gemstones. Sustainability is the critical concept we are living, or our society, worldwide society, is experiencing in our present time. When I say present time, I'm not talking about today, June, or 25 June. I'm talking about since few years now. Again, let me say something very important to me. It's not a matter of what we know or what we believe. It's a matter of what our potential final consumers perceive. What is perceived in this moment is that we have to stay inside a sustainable development. Also, when we are talking about luxury items, and when we are talking about colored gemstones and jewelry items with colored gemstones. Let's introduce also one very important topic, is the transparency, because the transparency is coming exactly with the sustainability, but it's more related in somehow to the traceability of the gemstones. Why transparency is so important? Because transparency is a way to act. It's a moral, let's say that, a step. The only way to give transparency or to show transparency among all the steps in the supply chain, so including also the final consumer, is the certification, is the report. Can be a jewelry report like in our image, can be a loose stone report, but the certification is building, not simply reinforcing like in our text, but we may say it's literally building the trust in our final consumer. It's increasing the value of the full luxury market. Again, in this case, when we say luxury market, we are talking about the market for the colored gemstones. Okay, why it's so important? In this case, certification, and if we do a step ahead, we may say transparency, because in the colored gemstones, we have many kind of different treatments. We may have a lot of synthetic material. So it's important to sell what the identity of the stone really is. There is a market for any kind of gemstones, including treated and including synthetics. How do we proceed in a lab in terms of colored gemstones when we talk about certification? First of all, let's recall back the concept of identification process we mentioned really at the beginning at this point. For a gemologist, but this is also for a lab, when we have a colored gemstones in front of us, the first step is always to identify the gem material. What does it mean, identify the gem material? It means to give to the gemstone, to the material, the proper name. I'm Fabio, this is a ruby, this is a sapphire, and so on. Okay, and giving the proper name means to identify the species and to identify the variety of the material. If I call back the example of before, the species may be corundum and the variety is ruby. Okay, not simply that. I didn't finish my job. I identify the species, I identify the variety. Now I have to also detect, if there are, of course, treatments. This is also a very important step. Okay, and then, of course, to be honest, before start detecting for any kind of treatments, I have to determine the origin of the stone. When I say origin, in this case, I'm not talking about the geographical origin. I'm talking about natural or synthetic origin of my gemstone. Okay, we may use very simple tools in the identification process, like the simple refractometer or polariscope. Sometimes it's more than enough to use the combination of the two. And among, let's say, the easy tools, let me include also our eyes. Why? Because the identification process always starts from our observation. Okay, always. And only after we have done the observation, we can move to the refractometer, to the polariscope, and then, again, our eyes are again involved, the microscope. Like the one I have close to me. Okay, the microscope is our best friend, or we may say it's the gemologist best friend, because it's the analysis of the inclusions, or if you prefer, the characteristics inside the gemstones, answering to many questions we may have, again, in the identification process. Of course, then we need also more advanced instrumentation. In this image, I want to spot out the Raman, or to be precise, the micro Raman. The micro Raman can be extremely useful to detect, not only to have the 100%, for us to be 100% sure about the identity of the material, but also to identify the identity of an inclusion inside our gemstone. Normally, we're talking about a solid inclusion. Okay. And using the Raman, we can also have information in terms of treatment, in terms of, let's say, first of all, origin, so natural or synthetic, in terms of treatment, what kind of treatment, and also in terms of, once we know the gemstone is natural, also in terms of origin, geographical origin. Another very important equipment, and this equipment is taking, let's say, is climbing the list in terms of importance, is the XRF, the ED XRF to be precise. The ED XRF is giving us the chance to determine to do the chemical analysis of the material. And looking for specific chemical elements, normally we may say transition chemical elements in the stone as a trace elements, or even inside the formula, the chemical composition of the stone, we may determine, again, the identity. We can play with the identity of the stone, but we can help us a lot, the EDXRF, also to determine the geographical origin. And also, now we have also new kind of analysis using this equipment, this advanced machine, or we may say, also to detect treatments, and also the most difficult treatments. We mentioned the origin of the geographical origin of the gemstone. And normally my students, now let me tell you a story, personal experience, personal story. Normally no matter the kind of course, if it is the course about diamonds, or if it is the course about colored gemstones, I always receive this question. Is it possible to determine the geographical origin of a diamond? No, it's not possible. Is it possible to determine the geographical origin of a colored gemstones? Yes, but with the asterisk, because the asterisk is related to the identity of the colored gemstones. Not all the colored gemstones can be worked, and we can understand the geographical origin. And now whispering a little, also for the most important, like ruby emerald, and sapphire, most of the time we don't reach the 100% of, let's say, self-confidence to say exactly the origin, the geographical origin. Okay, but the geographical origin can have a dramatical, but very, very strong impact in terms of price. Okay, normally the typical links we can do is for ruby, we have to look at Burma. For sapphire, we have to look at Kashmir. And for emerald, we have to look at Colombia. In gemology, we have also what we call the historical source of a gemstone. For ruby and for sapphire, the historical source is also matching with the most important in terms of value and then so on, in this case, price, important source, geographical source. So Burma, as we said, for ruby and Kashmir for sapphires. For emerald, I don't know if all of you knows that. For emerald, it's not that. There is no match between the most important source we have today, Colombia, with the historical source, because the historical source of emerald is Egypt. Okay, we have to look at in the Mediterranean Sea. We are in the peninsula of Sinai, and there we have the ancient mines of emeralds. So when we talk about historical source for emerald, we have to say Egypt. But when we talk, as we said, in terms of the most important present time source, of course, Colombia is there. And the price between ruby coming from Mozambique or coming from Burma, even if the color can be very similar, can be dramatically different. Same story we may say for sapphire coming from Sri Lanka or from Kashmir, or again, emerald coming from Colombia or coming from Brazil. But let's add also very important information. When we talk about a dramatical increment of price, we have to add one condition. The condition is the lack or the absence of treatment. Okay, if we have a ruby, let's say overpassing this 5 carats, let's say 7 carats, and we have a ruby coming from Burma, and the ruby is without any kind of treatment, the price can be extremely high. And now we can introduce, or we can take back what we said really at the beginning in terms of gemstone as investment. Okay, but the conditions are very strict, as we said. So for example, again, the geographical source, the size of the gemstones. In the past, we used to say over 5 carat. Now, to be honest, I believe it's more correct to say over 7. And then, as we said, the absence of any kind of treatment. What we said now is valid for ruby, it's valid for sapphire too, mainly for ruby, we may say, but also for sapphires too. And we can include also emerald, and we can involve also the Colombia as a geographical origin. We mentioned before, yes, in our color gemstones, we may talk also about, like the title of the slide, a synthetic alternative. Yes, why not? We can have emeralds, synthetic rubies, synthetic sapphires. We may have many kinds of synthetics. The quartz, quartz is, to me at least, it's very beautiful gemstones. Amethyst, for example, citrine, quartz. And we may have them also synthetic. Okay. Why not? If we are fully inside the transparency concept, there is no problem to sell synthetic alternative, let's say that. They can be also very beautiful. Also among the synthetic, we may have a different range of prices according to the different kind of growth methods used to obtain the emerald, the ruby, the sapphire, and so on. Okay. Oh, technically speaking, let me also review the definition of synthetic. We have it here in the text. a synthetic crystal, let me go beyond our text. A synthetic crystal is having the same chemical, physical, and optical characteristics or properties of the natural counterpart. So it means if I have to call a man-made crystal synthetic, I must have a natural counterpart with the same identical, of course, characteristics or properties. We mentioned also the treatments. Yes. A treated alternative, yes, why not? To be honest, it's the untreated, the real alternative when we talk about color gemstones, because the majority of the color gemstones are treated. Okay, they can be heat treated, typical, or if we look at emerald, for example, we talk about the fracture filling treatment. Okay, no problem. Again, if we are inside the transparency concept, no problem at all. In terms of the work of a lab, like what we do here, is first of all, we have to detect the presence of the treatment. 1, 2, 3, depends on. Because we may have also multi-treated gemstone. Once we determine the presence of the treatment, then there is the full disclosure. So it means that the treatment must be easy to see in the certificate, not difficult to find in the certificate. Okay. Okay, let's also open a window about the big three, so we can play a little bit beautiful, very beautiful gemstones. But more than this, I want also to talk about another step the lab or a gemologist is doing when working with the colored gemstone. We said before, we have the identification process, right? After the identification process, but it's not really a matter of time, it's more a matter of to know, first of all, the identity of the stone, and then we can work on the grading process. Okay, let's again, one more time, create a parallel with diamond. We are talking about the same kind of grading we do in diamond? No, not at all. It's not the same at all. Not the same at all. We can talk about the 4 C's when we talk about the grading of colored gemstones. No, we cannot. Of course, we could, but it's not there the point. Okay. We have to say something very important. What is really affecting the grading? Oh, sorry, let me do a step back. When we say grading, it means we are going to give a value to a gemstone. Again, I'm not talking about price. When I say value, in this case, I'm meaning we are going to allocate our gemstones in a scale of rarity. And then, of course, normally to the highest values corresponding also the highest price. And what is determining the rarity of a gemstone? First of all, we have to know exactly the species and the varieties. Okay, once we know exactly the species and the variety, the grading for the color gemstones pass through the color, what we call the fine color of the variety. Okay, then the presence or not of a treatment, and then also we are talking about the geographical origin. Yes, we may also take in consideration other factors like the cut. But when we talk about fine color, we are saying that we want to see it. So if we have a very not well proportioned cut, we don't have the chance to admire the beautiful color of a gemstone. Okay. We decide to go with the big three, and I want to use them as an example, because what we are going to say now for the big three can be extended for all the gemstones, because for any kind of variety, we have what we call the fine color. For example, talking about ruby, the ruby fine color is exactly red to slightly purplish red with medium to medium dark tone and vivid saturation. What does it mean? When we talk about red or slightly purplish red, we are talking about the hue of the color. Okay, when we talk about medium to medium dark tone, we are talking about the tone. So we are again measuring the hue in a scale from light to dark, or if you prefer, from extremely light, very light, to extremely dark or very dark. What does it mean? If I have a beautiful red in a ruby, but it's too dark, so dark that I cannot see it, or I cannot see it in a good way, then I'm out of the range of the fine color. Okay, or same, if I have a very light red, in this case, to be honest, when the red is too light, the red becomes a pink. So we may say if I have a pink, I'm not there in the ruby anymore, for example. I'm shifting the species I'm shifting the varieties inside the species. Okay, what is giving the beautiful red or slightly purplish red with a medium dark tone and vivid saturation in a ruby? It's the presence of a trace element, chromium. It's the presence of chromium. Chromium doesn't belong to the chemical formula of corundum and so on of ruby, and can be there just as a trace element, but can affect dramatically the color of the corundum and give into the corundum this beautiful red or slightly purplish red, like the one you can see here in the picture. This is the famous Estrela de Fura from Mozambique, so not from Burma. Okay, it's from Mozambique. The rough was something like more than 100 carat. So imagine the size of the rough. It was the biggest rough ever of ruby. And so on, we may say for the polished ruby, 55 carat, more than 55 carat of ruby. And it has been sold in 2023, June 2023, in New York, in the Sotheby's Magnificent Jewels, for something like 34.8 million of USD. Okay, so if you are thinking, no treatments, of course. So if you are thinking, is it an investment? The Estrella de Fura can be an investment? Yes, can be, of course, can be. Okay. Going toward going ahead, so moving to sapphires. Again, also for sapphires, we may talk about fine color. The fine color is violetish blue to blue, with medium to medium dark tone and strong or vivid saturation. There is also one more expression we use to use to describe the fine color of sapphire is velvety. Why? Because the velvety blue, violetish blue, is the typical fine color of the sapphires coming from Kashmir. I'm not talking about the modern mines in Kashmir. I'm talking about the old mines in Kashmir, the mines that are not working anymore, expired, completely finished, done, no more. Okay. Velvety, why? Because inside the sapphires, from this sapphire from the old mines in Kashmir, we could find so tiny, but very, 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 very tiny inclusions, giving this cloudish, let's say, effect to the color, not to the transparency of the gemstone. Okay, only to the color. So it's crazy, beautiful, crazy, I would say. For a gemologist to, let's say that, to identify a sapphire coming from Kashmir, paradoxically, it's very easy. It's extremely easy because it's too beautiful. Okay, of course, something is to identify it as a Kashmir, something else is to text it in a report. Before to text it in a report, then it's another story. The pressure coming from the responsibility is so big that we have to do a lot of tests more than one time, using different equipment from the simple tools to the most advanced instrumentation. Okay. What is giving the beautiful color is the interaction, the beautiful color to sapphires, I mean, is the interaction between two trace elements, again, not belonging at all to the chemical formula of corundum. We are talking about the titanium and the iron. Oh, sapphire and ruby are relative, we may say that, because they are two varieties of the same species. The species is corundum. Looking at emerald, emerald belongs, as a variety, belongs to the species of beryl. So we are changing now completely the species. Also the formation is different between corundum and beryl, completely different. Emerald, we may say, is one of the oldest gemstones we know. We mentioned before the historical source of emerald, right? The fine color of emerald is vivid green. We may say also vivid bluish green. There is with a touch of bluish. Okay, and the tone should be medium dark tone. For the emerald, this is a debate killing the market and also the gemologists since many years now. When I say many years, I'm talking about probable 30, 40 years back in time. Including the present time. And I'm sure including also the future. What happened? This is the typical debate question. Always we have. What happened if we have a beryl, green beryl with a light tone, but green or bluish green? Is it an emerald or not? If you ask, let's say to me, no, it's not. It's a green beryl. If we have a vivid green in a medium or medium dark tone, then we may call this the variety emerald. Okay. The funny part is that also in emerald, there is a chemical element not belonging to the chemical composition of beryl, giving the beautiful bluish green color. It's chromium. Sometimes it's a combination of chromium and vanadium. But just to play with you, if you think a little, Mother Nature is always full of surprises. In ruby or in corundum, if I have chromium, I have the beautiful red of ruby. In beryl, if I have chromium, I have the beautiful green of emerald. Okay. Oh, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Keep the questions for you. In a few, we discuss. Okay, we open the discussion. Let's close our seminar talking about the key challenge that are waiting for us in the future. I would say that some key challenges are always the same, are coming from the past, crossing the present time, and we will have in the future too. And we talk about the transparency. I don't want to use the counterfeit and fraud issues. Let's say in one word, we are talking about transparency. Now, we know what we mean when we say transparency. Okay, every time we buy and sell a colored gemstone, mounted or loose, we must have a report, a certificate. So we know exactly what it is. Again, it was the same in the past, the present time, of course, all of us, I believe we are a bit shocking for what's going on. And I hope it's not the case of the future. We talk about the market volatility and the economic uncertainty. These two factors are coming from the instability we have in our planet. It's not a matter only of economy or financial problems, issues, etc. It's also a matter of the human relation and what the human can do in terms of growing as individual and stop fighting and build something, a shining future, let's say, for all of us. Let's talk about something deeply and something different. Let's talk about balancing tradition and innovation. This is the point to me very, very important. Okay. And we can link, we can connect this point to what we said basically until now. We have to meet the, I would say, the needs, or if we want, we may also say the requirements of the new generation. Okay, what they are looking for, what they want. If the moment we are able to meet fully transparency, the needs and the requirements of the new generation, we can face easily the future. Always, let's say, it's also true that the young generation one day will be no more young. Mm? Okay, so what does it mean? What I want to say is saying that. I want to say that for a mature person, for a mature final consumer, we cannot propose the same items, the same designs, or the same trend designs we're going to propose or offer to the young generation. Okay, so more important is in our present time, and will be extremely more and more important for the future, is also to have a clear view if we are selling jewelry items to a final consumer. It will be more and more important to have a clear view, so to have a clear profile of our final consumers. In terms of course, of taste, but also in terms of age. Okay. And talking about that, we have to mention something that it's happening now, and I believe it will be more and more evident even in the future, what we may call hybrid retail experiences. All of us, I believe, we know that, even if we don't call it in this way, hybrid retail experiences. When, I don't know if you used to do it or if you have done one time at least in your life, when you go to McDonald's, most of the time, what we do is to order using a machine. Okay, but we are in the place, we are in the store. But in the store, we are using a machine to place our order, to select our menu and to what we like, etc. So this is exactly the meaning of hybrid retail experiences. So even if the final consumer is entering in our store, there is no more, let's say, the necessity to have a person there selling. Can be a screen, so can be the digital transformation in the store. Okay, and why that? Because using screen, using visual communication tool, we can give more information in less time. And this is what, at the end, the new generations are looking when they want to experience the purchase of an item, luxury or not. Okay. Probably in this, also the artificial intelligence will drive the human experience. We have to always to consider also the artificial intelligence. Let me say that talking about the artificial intelligence, we can also open a new window of talking. I mean, also the artificial intelligence can help in the concept of transparency, can help the lab to be faster, or to a gemologist too, okay, to be faster in the identification process for a gemstone. Technology is always going ahead. What was impossible yesterday, today is something concrete. Tomorrow, it will be easy to do. I still, let me bring, even if you're talking about color gemstones, let me bring an example about diamonds, about synthetic diamonds. When I enter in the field, now I'm 51 years old. I entered when I was 24. Talking about synthetic diamonds, the people were laughing. Yes, of course they were there, but only for the industrial uses, not for the luxury industry. And I remember the market operators, the traders, the people in the industry were laughing, talking about synthetic diamonds. I would like to see their faces now, in our present time. Okay. Okay. Let's go toward the end of our seminar. I hope you enjoy what we said until now. Now we open the question and answer, so I will have a measurement of if you like it or not. All the topics we mentioned are inside our courses. Okay, no matter if our courses are academic courses, professional trainer, etc., training, etc. I believe in our present time, we have to introduce in the gemological teaching, training, etc., also the concepts related to the marketplace. It's coming now as a very key point. Not only, of course, in all our courses, again, talking always about color gemstones, we teach how to identify a gemstone, how to grade also colored gemstones. But it's important to relate all the knowledge to the marketplace, and no matter the kind of job or the kind of work the students will do in the future. As always, always, this is the second time, so not really always, but also like we did the first time, we can do also this second appointment together. For all of you here in this moment, really in this moment, you may join some limited time offer for all our courses. I suggest you to do a picture of this image, a screenshot maybe of this image, so you may have a reminder about our upcoming courses and the discount we may enjoy for our upcoming courses and the codes to use when you enroll. Okay. Also, HRD is experiencing the digital transformation, because we have now everything, especially for education, everything is done through our website. So all the enrollments are possible to do through our website, choosing the location, choosing the course, choosing the language, because we teach in many different languages, and so on. Stay tuned, stay with us, and now it's the moment to close our presentation and to start answering to all your questions. Let me see the timing too. Let me see if I'm good or not. I'm pretty good. 1 hour, more or less, it's 1 hour. I just have, let's say, 10, 15 minutes delay, but it's acceptable. You are not upset with me. Let me start with the chat. So let me start reading the questions I can see in the chat. I see many questions. Okay. Rahul, how do we determine origin of a sapphire? Example, Ceylon, so Sri Lanka, Madagascar, etc. Okay, Rahul, but to all of us, to determine the origin of colored gemstones, again, no matter if it is a sapphire or a ruby, etc., it's always a matter to cross different data, different information, not only one. It's important, for example, to determine the kind of inclusions we have inside the stone. And when I say that, I'm talking about the solid inclusion, so the crystal included in the gemstone, so the identity of the crystals included in the gemstones, but also other kind of clarity characteristics we may find out inside. And then it's a matter of the chemical analysis of the material. Why not? Also can be a matter of fluorescence, also the analysis of the fluorescence. And then crossing all the information, all the data we have, we can determine the origin. Is it an easy process? No, not at all, not at all. Can a lab, so let's say, let's stay in the range of the most important labs in the world. Can a lab be sure, 100% sure about the origin? Normally, no. Okay, but if all the indications and the evidence are going in one direction, then at that point, the lab can assume the responsibility and text the geographical origin of a gemstone. Okay. Okay, let me see one more question. Mohamed, what about tsavorite garnet market value? First of all, I love tsavorite. It's very beautiful gemstone. As you said, Mohamed, tsavorite is a garnet. It's to me, it's generally speaking a difficult market. But in the same moment I said that, I'm also saying a lie. Why? Because when we talk about so specific kind of gemstone, we have always to take in consideration the geographical market. We cannot put on the same level, because I see, Mohammed, you are saying also across the world. We cannot do it, because we have always to take consideration where we are in the world. If we are in US, if we are in Europe, if we are in China, or let's say in Asia. And not simple that. We have always to take in consideration where we are inside the region. Okay, for example, if I'm in Europe, I cannot put on the same level the Saurite market in Italy with the Saurite market in France or in, I don't know, in Spain, etc. Okay. Switzerland, for example, is a good market for Saurite garnet. Okay. Okay, I'm going to another one. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Michelle is commenting the bluebell sapphire. With the bluebell sapphire is the one we saw in when we talk about the sapphire in terms of fine color. It was sold yesterday at Christie's for 11 million. 11 million. Okay. Okay, and it was less than the previous time in 2014. So remember the conditional views in terms of investment could be color gemstones could be an investment. It's not mathematical, but yes, it could be. Let's go toward one more question. Edwin, how to identify how to identify chrome diffuse ruby or pink sapphire? Edwin, identifying what we normally call the normal diffusion treatment, so the one done with the chromium or done with the titanium and iron, chromium to have red, or as you said, also a light red, so pink. And iron and titanium to have the blue. Paradoxically, it's easy. Okay, it's a matter of observation using the microscope. Then, of course, we are going to look for some more strong evidence using advanced equipment, but it's something that is easy to do. Okay, even through the inclusions, for example, we can determine if there are inclusions, we can use the inclusions. The problem is when we are going to identify the beryllium diffuse or diffusion treatment. It's a little bit more difficult. There we have only one chance to use advanced equipment. Okay. Anthony, where is the barrier between pinkish sapphire and ruby? How much chromium is necessary? Nice question. Yes, that's yes. If we talk about parts per million of chromium, we don't go out. This is strictly personal opinion. Strictly personal opinion. If we work in terms of part per millions of chromium, we don't go out from it. We are stuck. The best way to determine if it is a pink sapphire or if it is a ruby is just to observe the color. Just to simply to observe the color, but not looking at it, I don't know, not in the proper condition. We have to say in the proper conditions. We have to use possibly also masters, and then we can determine properly the color of the corundum, and we can declare it as a ruby or as a pink sapphire. Okay. Okay, let me see. I see many questions. George, let's see, George. Is a lab giving the value in terms of price? No, 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 George. Lab must not talk about price. Never, never. Why? Because it's exactly like a football match. There are the two teams and there is the referee. The lab is the referee. Cannot take the part of the one team or the other one. So the part of the seller or the part of the buyer. The lab is a referee, completely neutral. So cannot talk about money, about price. Of course, a lab can talk about the price of the report, of the certificate, okay, but not about the price of the gemstone. Okay. And no, George. No, George is also asking now if we have a price list of colored gemstones. No, we don't have. We don't have absolutely like diamonds. No, we don't have at all. There was an attempt in the past. We have to go back something like 10, 15 years back in the past. There was an attempt to do it, especially for the corundum, so ruby sapphires and the fancy color sapphires, so yellow, green, pink sapphires, etc. But it was a completely failure. It was not possible to take in consideration a different part, different region in the world. So we don't have at all a price list for colored gemstone. Let's go to Valentina. Valentina, we will receive the recorded presentation by email. No, not by email, but it will be available online on YouTube. This is why we are recording this seminar. Okay, Valentina, I believe you are Italian like me. So, ciao, Valentina. Now, let's go to one more question. Let me see here. Adnan, no. Is the titanium diffusion treatment necessary? This is Prudkun. I hope I pronounce well your name. Necessary. Let's face the topic of the treatments from a different perspective, including also the diffusion treatment. Okay. Why we treat a gemstone? Because we want to give to the gemstones more chance to be sold, not because we want to cheat someone. Okay, this is the pure, the genuine meaning of a treatment. How do we build a price of a treated gemstone? The price of a treated gemstone is the price before the treatment plus the cost of the treatment. Okay, simply that. Then it's a different story if someone is cheating or taking advantage of the lack of knowledge of another person. But remember, transparency now is a mandatory factor in the marketplace. Okay, one more question. Michelle, is always you. Michelle is one of my kids. That's why he's having a lot of fun. No, same question about the bluebell. Sorry, Michelle. No, forgive me. Okay, Mohammed. Mohammed, we cannot open a marketplace for Tsawarite. But okay, thanks for telling us that. Okay. And let me see, there is also Adnan. Adnan, let's try to take your question. Okay. Adnan, welcome Adnan, first of all. Thanks also for the information we are sharing. And okay, thanks for being with us. And I'm not reading your question because it's not appropriate now, but thank you. Prutkun, no, same question of before, okay. I don't have the name. The name is just iPhone. I would like to open a lab. Good luck. Okay, let's take this question, let's say from iPhone. Sorry if I don't mention your name, but I cannot see it. Open a lab is this moment is very difficult. It requires a huge amount of investment because gemology is changed. Again, let me bring you my experience. When I entered in the field, I told you I was 24 years old. It was still possible to work with very easy tools and to identify gem materials with easy tools. Now no more. Now we need also advanced instrumentation. Not only the Raman we saw before, not only the EDXRF we saw before, even more and more equipment. And going ahead in time, this equipment must be more sophisticated, more advanced in terms of technology. What we really need as a lab, it's not only to reach the information, the 100% sure information. It's also to do it very fast. We cannot spend 2 weeks on a gemstone. It's not possible. Okay, we have to be fast. In order to be fast, we need technology. Of course, knowledge, experience. We must know what to do. And of course, also, we need to be fast. Okay, let me see. I see one more question from Edwin. Edwin, is there a traceability method for gemstones like laser inscription on the girdle or something like? Yes, it's possible. It's possible to apply some traceability method to gemstones. It's the case, for example, of emerald, a very famous lab. So you can look for it if you like. Well, of course, we are not laser inscribing a colored gemstones. Technically speaking, it's possible to do it only on corundum and only on specific, let's say, quality in terms also of energy laser. Not all the laser can do it. But it's not something that it's done normally, yeah, not at all. The laser inscription, not at all, not at all. Yes, again, in terms of possibility to do it, yes, it's possible to do it, but it's not in terms of probability. Not to find the gemstones with the laser inscription. No, I believe it's very reduced. Okay. Let me see. I see another red. Olga. Okay. Olga, nice to meet you too. It was the question about the diffusion treatment. I don't see any more red questions, let's say that, red dots. So if you have a question you want to ask verbally, please feel free to do it. Also now the number is getting low and low, so I believe it's easier to interact a little bit. Oh, I have another question, sorry, from my phone di Sua Maestà. Is it possible to buy gemstones without instruments? So let's say only with a loop or something like that, or let's say with very easy tools. Yes, technically speaking, it's possible. It's possible. My suggestion is if you are going to buy gemstones in a place where you don't have easy access to a lab, but you have to buy the gemstones in that moment, is to go buy samples. So you can buy some samples, then go to the lab you like the most, ask for the analysis, for the certificate, for the report. And then if your source, I mean, in terms of seller, if your seller is a good one, you can come back and keep going buying from the same source. Otherwise, the suggestion I'm feeling to give, to tell you, is always to have a report, always to buy and sell with the certificate. It's not the time anymore to do it without. Nothing to do. A few years ago, it was still possible. Now no more. Now no more at all. Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. This is Olajide from Nigeria. Can I go on with my
nice
question?
to meet you.
Yeah, I'm a geologist residing in Nigeria, my home country. I want to know whether HRD Antwerp has regional offices in West Africa and maybe in some other parts of Africa.
You are forcing me to unveil our secrets. No, at the moment, no. But
Okay.
but let's say have a look at in the future. If you will be with us in another seminar, not close to now, but let's say more ahead in time, maybe I can change my answer. Okay.
Yeah, that would be very good because I've followed events at HRD Antwerp for almost 3.5 or 4 years through regular receiver of the emails from your organization. I'm looking forward to an opportunity to collaborate with HRD Antwerp.
Okay.
I've done some bit of work on tourmaline and some other gems around there in Nigeria. Work as exploration geologist on solid
Okay.
minerals, and also as a consultant. So I'd like to have your contact.
Yes, please.
So that,
It's my name. My contact is my name, Fabio D'Amico, at
okay,
hrdantwerp.com. Yes, send me an email. This is for
okay,
all
I'll
of you.
definitely.
Any kind of questions you may have, comment you may have, feel free to text an email. I'm always,
I will do.
maybe I'm a little bit late in the answer, but I will answer. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Good
yeah,
afternoon, sir.
yeah. I appreciate that. Thanks for the presentation. Very wonderful.
My pleasure.
Regards.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
And we have also Ajay
Yeah.
asking if there are discounts for the certification. Eh,
Thank you.
eh,
Uh,
thanks to you. Thanks to you.
uh,
Ajay is asking discounts for certification. Maybe if you work on the quantity, on the volume, why not? But not
Good
like the
afternoon.
codes before, eh? Okay.
Good afternoon,
Uh,
sir.
yes. Then we have another question. Okay, this is a real, let's say, experience. So, is there an instrument to use to identify contextually with the client in front if the gemstones is natural or not, etc.? No, there is not a tool so fast, let's say that. In this case, it's always a matter of the jeweler to do at least the first screen using easy tools also, okay, to determine
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. To determine the entity of the risk the jeweler can take, okay, because there is always a margin of risk using easy tools. When I say easy tools, I'm talking about mainly our eyes and all the tools we can use with our eyes. So from the microscope to the loop, etc. Sometimes also easy tools like refractometer and polariscope, if it's possible to have in the store, maybe on the back of the store, why not? Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, sorry for interruption. I would like to know why there are no certificate services for colored gemstones in main office HRD Antwerp
Okay, for loose, only for loose we
or
don't
loose
offer the
stones.
moment. Yes,
And
look,
do we expect any date or in the future that you're gonna start?
I can say
Thank you.
yes. I can say yes, not in the very close future, not in the very close future, but yes, yes. It's a matter of, for the lab, in this case, I'm talking about all the HRD labs in the world, to, let's say, to grow inside the color gemstone certification, okay? And then we will open to also to lose, of course, it will be done. No, this is something I can say. Ok. Ok.
Io Fabio ti faccio una grande domanda, ti saluto intanto.
Non
Come
sti
stai?
vedo.
Tutto bene?
Ok, Sua Maestà. Ok. What is your name?
Alberto,
Alberto. Ok.
te la faccio in italiano almeno ci
Sì,
si
I will
capisce che
translate in
poi te
English.
se proprio... Vai. No, volevo chiederti, noi ci siamo conosciuti lì praticamente all'Upgrow quando sono venuto al seminario, si parlava dei diamanti
Ah,
sintetici a
Alberto, ben
Firenze.
ritrovato allora.
E ti volevo chiedere come pensi che, in base a quello che ci siamo detti sul diamante sintetico, che praticamente dal punto di vista mio personale è un po' fermo come prodotto, mentre il diamante naturale cioè, sta completamente riprendendo il suo fascino. È così per tutti o solo per noi il nostro mercato italiano?
Okay, the question of Alberto is the synthetic diamonds or lab-grown diamonds now are the market of synthetic diamonds is experiencing a moment of slowdown, and the opposite for the natural diamonds. So the question of Alberto is: this is something happening in his own experience, trading experience, or it's something happening full all over the world? we may say that in this moment, and I'm talking about really the present time, all the many gemstones are experiencing a slowdown. It's not a simple matter of synthetic diamonds, natural diamonds, rubies, etc. It's a matter of what's happening around us. Okay, it's a matter of the tension the full planet is having, and also the different markets, not only the luxury markets, not only the jewelry items market is, let's say, waiting to see what's going to happen. Okay. But if we increase a bit our eyes, our looking, and we go back also 2-3 months ago, let's say that's true. We may say that the synthetic diamonds are not experiencing or are not inverting the trend, so going down, for example, but the synthetic diamonds market finally, we may say, got a stable trend. So not fluctuating anymore, not going up, not going down, but we may say stable. Okay, this is true, we may say worldwide. Then, according to different regions or places, we may have also a peak up or a peak down. Ok.
E poi l'ultima domanda, è vero che dovrebbe aprire un centro HRD a Valencia dove possiamo certificare direttamente le pietre oppure bisognerà sempre fare Anversa? Dammi una news, perché vocifera.
Okay, Alberto is asking if HRD is going to open a lab in Italy. I cannot answer. I cannot say yes, I cannot say
Non
no.
puoi
I may
rispondere.
say, but
Faccio il
sì,
solletico.
Alberto sì.
Ok,
Okay,
benissimo.
okay. Let me see more question.
Ma
I
a Roma
see.
ci sei tu quando si farà il corso colore?
Also, Alberto is asking if I'm going to teach the color gemstones course in Italy. The one
Novembre a
in
Roma?
November, no. I won't
No.
I won't be myself. No, it's
Ok,
not me. It's not me.
peccato, ci sarò io.
Remember, you can always text me. You can always send me an email.
Ok,
We can
ok.
start talking by email. No problem at all. Okay. I don't know. Do you have more questions? Because in my chat here, I see one more. Yes. From Shristi. Ciao Shristi, piacere. Can you please tell what's the future scope for loose gemstones wholesaler? Okay, she's basically Shristi is it's not really a question, Shristi, yeah? It's more, let's say, a comment. The comment of Shristi is about the increasing cost of materials, the increasing cost of, we may say, technology, and the increasing cost of everything related to the market of colored gemstones. And how in the supply chain we can absorb these increasing costs, let's say that. Going from the wholesalers to the retailers to the final consumer, from the mines, let's say, from the mines to the wholesaler, to the retailers, and to the final consumer. It's a matter, it's a very difficult point by the way, Celestia. But in any case, it's a matter of, again, to me, it's a matter of sustainability and traceability. What does it mean? It means that if we can say that our product is a sustainable product and it's easy to demonstrate the origin of the product, and so we can trace the product from the mines till the final consumer, then we can overpass the step or the issues, the problems related to the cost. More than this, we may say that in diamonds, maybe the margin are getting thinner and thinner in this moment, at least. But with the color stones, no. Color stones, no. That's the opposite. There is still space to increase the margin between the wholesaler and the retailer, and so on, between the retailer and final consumer. Especially if we talk about all the color gemstones, easy to access. Okay, so if we keep aside for the moment the most expensive color gemstones, then what I told you can be there. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you have more vocal questions. Otherwise, I'm going to close our session for today. But please remember, you can reach me by email easily, very easily. Okay. If you lose me somehow, I'm also in the HRD website, so you can find me. And once you find me, remember, it's my name at hrdantwerp.com. It's very easy. Okay. By the way, my name is Fabio.
Fabio, just 1 second.
Yes,
I can ask something. Sorry to bother you. In these 2-3 weeks, are you visiting Antwerp or no? Staying in Dubai only?
Dubai. I'm based in Dubai. Ajay.
Okay.
I have
last
4 weeks class now. So for 4 weeks, I will be here in the region. Okay. 2 courses.
Okay, because last. Okay. No, because last time I was in Mumbai, you were still in Dubai, and now I'm in Antwerp. I thought if you are here, then at least I can come and say hello to you.
We cannot meet there. Okay.
I will come Dubai. No problem.
Or
Okay.
maybe I'm coming in. You are in Mumbai, yeah?
Okay. Definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to all of you.
How it works? Answer, please.
I can hear you, but I cannot see you.
Okay, please answer. I wrote to you a question.
George. Okay.
Yes, please.
George.
Just if you want, I can say it in voice. I would like to know about the cost of analyzing this stone. It's like diamond or less important?
George, you text. Okay. The first question was about the price for the
the cost of the lab. Okay.
Yeah. Then the price list of diamond. Okay. Okay. If the certification cost for a color gemstones is the same of diamond, that's the question.
That's right.
Okay. No, because the full marketplace of diamonds, including certification, etc., is more well structured than color gemstones. Okay, so color gemstones can require, let's say, more attention, more detailed work. So it cannot be the same.
About percentage.
When we talk about loose color gemstones, if we talk about mounted, then it's a different story. Okay.
All right.
Mounted, yes, can be the same.
All right. I will grab myself and go and see. So I have to try.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so
much. You are
in
Paris, George.
Thank you.
My pleasure, George. My pleasure.
Thank you. It was very, very nice. Thank you.
Thanks to you, George. Really, thank you very much. Okay, let me do last check. No, I see Alberto, but Alberto, we did it. There is Michelle. Okay. Michelle is commenting the decision of HRD Antwerp to stop the grading and the identification of loose synthetic diamond starting from January 26. That's true. It's the first lab taking this position. And to be honest, I'm happy for that. I'm very happy for that. So I have to say to my colleagues in the lab, it's a very good decision. So let's take the occasion. From January 2026, HRD is not going to certify any more loose synthetic diamonds. As you see, I'm allergic also to the word lab grown. So imagine. Okay. I say synthetic. Okay. Okay. So let me do a last check. Let me do a very last check. Oh, Prutkun, you have one more. Olga, you have one more question. Where is the limit of radiation? Irradiation, yes. For sapphire, and is it mentioned in certificate? So you mean the irradiation treatment for sapphires? It's not so common, to be honest, to irradiate, let's say, a corundum to obtain the blue color. Okay. By the way, let's go to the second part of your question. If it is mentioned in the certificate, no. In the certificate, it's mentioned only the kind of treatments. Only the kind of treatment. So if there is irradiation treatment, of course, it will be mentioned irradiation treatment or irradiated. Okay, but no more than this. Okay, only the presence and the entity of the treatment, no more than this. In terms of other treatments, we may have something like a scale of the treatment, especially if we're talking about the fracture filling treatment or the heat treatment for specific gemstones. Okay, so in that case, we may specify in the certificate also the amount, let's say the entity and the quantity of the treatment. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Gordon. Thank you very much.
Fabio, can I ask something?
Yes, Ajay,
Sorry.
please.
No, just a question out of this event. When we received the email from HRD that this conference is going to happen, like today is happening now, they gave option that you need certificate of this participation in this, or no? The question they ask us while registering. So what is that about? That you participate in this conference, you would
Yes.
want certificate or no? That was something
Yes,
new. It was not last time.
It's just a letter of participation, no more than this.
Okay.
It's simply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you may ask.
Okay.
You may, if you need something like that, you may ask for it. It's okay. Yeah, no problem at all. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for being with me, even for assisting until even how much we are late. Let's see, we are late of half an hour. So thank you very much for being with me so late. And I hope to see you next time. And I hope to see you in person one day. Yeah?
When is next time?
Next time is in July. In July. Okay. But you choose the topic next time. So my colleagues are opening a form where you can pick. You can choose the topic. So if you have something in your heart, you want to go deep, you want to know more, we can take the direction you like the most. Of course, it's all of you voting for the topic, so the majority will win. Okay.
Okay.
And again, thank you very much, and hope to see you next time then. Okay, and bye-bye to all. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. And nice to meet you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the presentation.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Ну, как-то теперь выйти. And